If you want to build applications or AI agents that are powered by large language models, then LangChain is the framework for you. Chat models and prompt templates are the building blocks of LangChain. Hi, I am Muhammad Shakir and welcome to my channel. In this video, you will learn how chat model and prompt templates from LangChain helps you to structure and manage the interactions with the LLMs. If you are looking to getting started with LangChain, then this video has something for you. So grab your favorite coding snack and let's get started. So there are two topics that we will cover in this video. One is the chat model and the other is the prompt template. With chat model, we will send messages, and with the prompt template, we will be able to configure messages that are of type system and that are of type human. System message and the human message. So let's dive deep into it. With the .py file, if at all you want to write code in Jupyter Notebook, then that's fine, absolutely okay. So see, the name of my file is just getting started with chat model and prompt templates. Now what I'm going to do is the very first thing is we are supposed to load the model. Now, loading the model, LangChain provides you with with a very, very fantastic function called INIT chat model. This is the function that can be used in order to load the model. An easy to use function, just pass two parameters to it. One is what is the model and exactly who is the model provider. So first is the name of the model and the other is the model provider. But you see this, there is one very important thing out here in it. Which model do you want to load? Which model do you want to work with LangChain? So LangChain is a framework. It provides you with the option to work with OpenAI. It provides you with the option to work with Mistral. It gives you the extension to work with Grok, AWS together. All of these are the LLMs and these models are available out there. You can use one single LangChain framework in order to communicate with any one of these. So let's get started. What I'm going to do here is that first of all, you need these libraries. Now you install, if you are using Jupyter Notebook, then you do the pip install, or else you set up the environment for your Python project in any one of your IDEs that you use. I am using IntelliJ. You can use any IDE of your choice. So LangChain core. Well, LangChain core is very much the subset of LangChain library itself. But now you see this. I have used LangChain Mistral. I have installed LangChain-Mistral. Now, I'm a big fan of Mistral, and for experimental purposes, they do provide the API key absolutely free of cost. Just go to console.mistral.ai. And there, of course, you need to log in, you need to register, you need to log in. And without any credit card, they don't ask for the credit card at all. And you can just simply activate a plan on the very first page, that on the dashboard itself, you will find an option to activate the plan. And then after activating the plan, you go to the API keys. There is an option on the sidebar. You create an API key. You will be able to figure it out. It's pretty simple. Console.mistral.ai. Okay. And if you want to use OpenAI, then in that case, you can go to the platform of OpenAI and there you can create an API key. There I have loaded my account with $5, so I can just keep on using it, and it charges the cost is very bad, very minimal, at least for the kind of POCs that I'm writing, especially in this video for this video. So if you want to work with Mistral, then you better load this API. I'm going to install this library. If you want to work with OpenAI, then in that is OpenAI. Similarly, you will find LangChain. So this is the beauty of LangChain, So one single framework could interact with any one of these. So the modules and the functionality and the APIs provided by LangChain itself. When I say API, I'm talking about the interface that is provided by LangChain itself in order to code your application. It is the same thing that you will be using in order to communicate with any one of these. So you see LangChain, Python, I can say AWS, I can say Grok, you can see this Grok, and so on. So it provides for almost all of them, all of these LLMs that are out there in the market. So coming back over here, what I'm going to do is I prefer starting with is equal to, and I'll say main, and then here I will start. First of all, see, it's better to have defensive programming done. So I will check whether that key is already configured or not. And how did I configure? So yes, LangChain will expect the API key to be configured with a particular key, so where have I configured it? I have configured this in .env file. Now I will not double click it. Why? Because it will otherwise get recorded and my API keys are there. So, but then if you are using Mistral, then the name of the API key that you configure, simple, like, say Mistral underscore API underscore key equal to whatever the key is. If you want to use OpenAI, then OpenAI underscore API underscore key equal to whatever your API key is. That's what you will be installing. That's what you will be configuring here. And how do you load that environment? It's very simple, as same as you do in other Python application. You'll say from .env and I'll say import load .env and then I say load. So this will load the environmental variables from the .env file, which I can very well use. So I'll first check whether I have, I hope I have not misspelled the key name, and so I can be just defensive about it. And then I'll say API underscore key is equal to, of course, the name is, if I'm going to use OpenAI, I'll say open API, OpenAI API key. I'll just check, so whether it's installed, I mean, it's there or not in the environmental variable. So this will give me an error if at all. So it will go to API key is none. And then I say print. Perfect. You need to set, and then I'll say exit one. But if at all it is already there in the .env file, this key equal to whatever the actual API key is, things will proceed further without any problems. Okay, so this is what it is. Okay, important part. How do I now load the chart model? I'll say chart underscore model is equal to, I'll say init underscore chart underscore model. It takes two parameters, as I said earlier, the model and the model provider. But then how do I get that? Where is this init chart model? So I'll say I'll say LangChain dot chart models. I'll say import chart. Okay, well, there is a class available as well, but if I want to just simply, I say init chart model, if this is the function that I want to use, I can just go ahead and use this function. So now I have this function with me, and I'll say model is equal to, now I'll say GPT hyphen, well, 2 or GPT hyphen 4o hyphen meaning. This is what I can use. And then I'll say API key. I don't need to pass the API key at all out here. I just need to say model underscore provider is OpenAI. I can just simply ignore this. Why? Because by default, if you do not provide the API key here, and if the provider is OpenAI, it will automatically look for OpenAI underscore API underscore key as the environmental variable. It finds one, it proceeds. If not, it will give an error. Right? So this is how you load the chart model. So far, so good. So now the next thing is sending a message. Simple. So I'll say response. So response is equal to, I'll say chart model dot, I'll say prompt, or else I can just simply say invoke. This is the function. And if I say prompt is equal to, I just even don't need to make a mention of that property. I'll just simply say, what is your name? Okay, if I say what is your name, then in that case, it's better that I give up. I'll say very like it's kind of a hello world in case of accessing the LLM through your code, or even getting started with any LLM through its chatbot. What is the capital of France? Okay, so this is the response. I mean, this is the message that I'm invoking, and I'll just simply print the response out here. Now, see the fun. I just, run this code, and I will get the response. And here you are. See, this is the response. So in the response, actually, the response is of type an object which has got content as the property. So content is equal to, this is what it is. I will do one thing, in order to have a better view of the response, I'll say dump model. I will dump this model into a format. Then I can use with JSON. I'll say JSON dot, I'll say dumps. Okay, but I need to install. So I'll say import. I'll say JSON. I've already installed that library. JSON dot dumps, and in brackets, and I'll say here, comma, indent is equal to 4 should be just fine. Okay, let's see how this works. See it. Now see, this is the response that I have received. The capital of France is Paris. Additional the arguments, and then if user is null, and all of this is the response metadata. You will get you will get the completion tokens, the prompt tokens, and the total tokens. All of this. Now, response properties in this JSON may be a bit different depending on the LLM that you are using. Now, I'll give you an example. I have also configured in my .env file. I have already configured Mistral as well. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to keep everything as it is. I'll just comment this, but I'll say model is, instead of this GPT-4, I'll say Mistral hyphen large hyphen latest. This is the model that I will. And who's the provider? I'll say Mistral AI is the provider. Now, I did not check whether this Mistral underscore API underscore key is there. That's for the sake of having defensive programming. But here, when I say Mistral AI, this function will automatically look for an environmental variable called Mistral AI, Mistral underscore API underscore key. That is what it is going to look for. And I have configured that in my .env file. I have configured both OpenAI underscore API key and Mistral underscore API underscore key. So this will not fail. Well, this will also not fail because that property is also configured. What I'm trying to only tell you is that this is very interesting. See, it's just that I have changed the model here. And see this here. This remains the same. That's the beauty of using the frame. That's the beauty. Otherwise, there is definitely a way. If I go to Mistral, documentation, there they do provide the SDK. I can just simply take a look at this. In my requirements, I do have a library installed here called Mistral AI. This is the SDK provided by Mistral. So I can just simply go to chat with Mistral. It's a simple piece of code. I am not using LangChain in this piece of code. I repeat, I have not used LangChain in this piece of code. So what I have over here is the Mistral SDK for Python provided by Mistral. And then here I will of course look for Mistral API key, and then I just check it out. And then you see this is the model, and this is the API key that I need to pass as a parameter to the Mistral object of Mistral class. This is the constructor of Mistral class. And then I use Mistral underscore client.chat.complete. I say model, and these are my messages. No LangChain here. Directly accessing the SDK provided by Mistral. Right? But if this is the kind of code that I write, if I don't use LangChain, now what? I will have to get the SDK specially for from OpenAI. I will have to get the SDK if I want to use Grok. I will go ahead with installing the SDK of Grok and so on. And here, this code may change because the class that I will use will no longer be a Mistral class. I will use OpenAI class or some class that is provided by OpenAI library, right? And then maybe this is different. And the way I send the message is different. The payload, the way I send the payload is different. But if I use LangChain, then the only change that I have is here. And this is also in the form of a spring. What does that mean? Maybe you develop an application which is a web application where you accept from the user, give a drop down, say which particular LLM you want to use. They provide the LLM as the person selects, your end user selects the LLM. You may decide to take the API key from the end user itself as own API key, or you use your API key. Well, based on whatever LLM the user has selected, just simply change these parameters dynamically, and then everything else remains exactly the same. Because you are not dependent on, you are not writing code, your code is not bound to the SDK of a particular LLM provided by a particular LLM. Rather, your code is bound to LangChain as the framework. Call it a library framework. Well, let's not debate about that. So here you are. See, it works. So, okay, I did not actually run this code and show you. Let me run this with Mistral. And you see this, it works, right? It's send the request. Let's wait. Okay, here you. So I have the response here. Also, the content is here, additional, keywords here, arguments here, and then response meta. Can you see this token usage, prompt tokens, 10 total tokens? Please recollect if you want. I will definitely rerun this program with, OpenAI, and you will see there is a bit of a difference in the response. Of course, these are two different LLMs. Under the hood, I repeat, under the hood, this chart model invokes the message actually via the API provided by these respective LLMs. That's what it does. Under the hood, it does that. Of course, these are different LLMs and the response would be, different. But what it ensures, what LangChain ensures that you do have a property called content for sure, and the actual response that you were expecting will be in this property called content. So I'll just comment this and I'll say print and I'll say response.content. That's it. And now if I run this, this is the only value that I'll get printed over here. In case if I want the entire thing, then you see this, all of this, you see the model name is different and so on. Type and the ID and everything. So what I'm going to do here is that I comment this and I uncomment this and then I run this code. And now you see this, it is going to use the provider as OpenAI. The capital of France is Paris. Just the content. Just the content. And if I want the entire, then I'll just rerun this. Really want. One thing, very important, if you are using Mistral, then it is absolutely free, of course, and for experimental purposes, but there is a rate limit. Within a minute, there are some specific number of requests that you can send. And then during the day, there are some X number of tokens that you can send as input and X number of tokens that you can receive as output. So there is definitely rate limiting, concept over there if it's a free one. If it's not free, then there are two options that they provide. One is the experimental purpose and the other is pay as you go. So if you register for pay as you go, then in that case, yes, they will charge you some reasonable amount, For your POCs and for learning purpose for POC, I don't see a reason why you would want to go for pay as you go. Experimental feature should be just fine. All right. So this was how it is, you see. Here you see completion tokens is 8 and prompt tokens is 14 and total tokens. And then see completion token details. Now, this was not there in the response of Mistral. Yeah. Isn't it? Interesting, isn't it? Now, let's proceed further. We used the chat model in order to invoke a message. Now, the message that we have sent here is in the form of a string, which is supposed to be the case always. But then LangChain as a library provides very sophisticated ways. There are other ways also in which you can create a prompt out here. You can send messages from your application using the chat model. What I mean to say here is that I can say chat model dot, what I can do is I'll say dot invoke, correct? Which we have already done. We have used this, we have learned how to do this, but then now I will, instead of passing a string as a parameter, I will instead have two types of messages sent. One is a system message and the second will be a human message. Now, these are the classes that are provided. I repeat, these are the classes that are provided by LangChain. Take a look at this. I'll say system message. Now, well, I am not getting it in my dropdown. The reason being, I need to import it. So I'll say from LangChain and I'll say dot, of course, not schema, and I'll say message. LangChain underscore core dot messages, and I'll say system message, comma, and I'll import the human message as well. So you see the system message, and I can very well pass a parameter here, which will be a string. So what will this go as? This will go as a system message. Now, what do you really mean by system message? System message actually means that you are setting the context before the conversation starts with the chat model. Or rather, I would say with the LLM. So the chart model, of course, you are invoking a message on the LLM. So the LLM gets the context first. And then you start asking questions. You can ask multiple questions once the context is set. It is like uploading a PDF, having some content, and then you keep on asking questions about the content in that PDF. So once you have set the context, you can proceed further asking many questions. And when you ask questions, you are performing the role of a user. I mean, the message that goes to the LLM has a role called user. I'll give you an example before I get started with this. Take a look at this piece of code. Now here I am not using, once again, LangChain in this piece of code. I am using directly a Mistral class provided by the SDK, which again is provided by Mistral. So if you go to Mistral documentation, if you go to their site, you will find that there's an option too. I mean, they will tell you that this is the library that you need to install. Just go to your say pib install Mistral AI, and this is the SDK that they have provided. I can use this SDK directly in order to interact with Mistral. Or for that matter, you will get the SDK from OpenAI, from Grok, and so on. So coming back over here, take a look at this. I have created an object, and then I'm saying this Mistral client.chat.stream. And here I say model, whatever the model is. Again, I'm sure we have discussed this, what the model is. And then, sorry, this is the API key that is already provided as a parameter while creating an object of Mistral. Take a look at the messages here, friends. It's an array. And the very first message that we are sending, see the role system. I am setting the context out here. I'm saying I am Muhammad Shakir from a city called Baroda, which happens to be in a state called Gujarat. Now I am setting the context. I love to write code, and this is the reason why I could not succeed as an entrepreneur. Yes, friends. At this age and stage of my career, I would really say that there are many others who are my contemporaries, and they have achieved real huge stuff, in their career. Why? Because they love numbers, and I love the coding, which is absolutely fine, no regrets. So coming back here, and this is the reason why. So now see the questions. User, what is my name? User, what do I like? Now these are the messages that are being sent. The context is set over here, role colon system, but here role colon is user. Correct. So what is my name? What do what do I love to do? Why I could not succeed as a businessman? I'm saying not as an entrepreneur, but I'm saying as a businessman. Of course, there is a similarity, match that happens, how LLMs really work, but it will definitely pick up the right answer. And then content, where do I stay? So this is role, again, a user. Now, if I run this, take a look at this. I just click here and I say run and see. You can see this. Your name is Mohammed Shakir. What you love to do is write code. And why you believe you could not succeed as an entrepreneur? Because of your love for writing code. See, perfect. Exactly. Baroda, also known as Vadodara. Yes, this is yet another name. See the power of LLM. A city in the state of Gujarat, India. I did not see that it is in India, but it picked up. So this is what it is. Now, using LangChain, if I want exactly the same thing to do with LangChain, then what will I do? What will I do? I'll say system message. So I won't spend time writing the whole thing again out here. So I'll just copy and paste this here. This is my message. This is my system message. Take a look. Sorry, I go back here. And this is my system message. Now, after this, as a system message, the rest of all my messages will be, I'll say human message. See, what is my name? Correct? And then again, a human message. What do I love to do? And then yet another human message. Why I could not succeed as a businessman. And then human message, where do I stay? So see, there's all of these are the human messages. What is the benefit of using LangChain? One would say, okay, you were achieving the same results with the help of the direct, Mistral SDK. So the point here is standardization. The point here is when I use a framework like LangChain, if tomorrow I have to switch from Mistral to OpenAI, from OpenAI to Grok, maybe something else, then in that case, the only thing that changes is this. The rest of my entire code remains exactly as it is. It is the responsibility of LangChain to transform or translate my messages into the kind of messages that are expected by the LLM. So this is just a pretty simple and plain example out here. This standardization and having a framework will have huge benefits. Instead of will have we will reap huge benefits by using LangChain as the framework instead of directly using some SDK for a particular LLM. So you can plug and play different LLMs based on your requirement. So here you are now. When I give this, when I send this message, when I invoke this program, when I run this program, here you are. You see this. Oh, okay. So I did not invoke the messages. Actually, I have invoked the messages, but I did not say response is equal to. So let me say response is equal to, and I will comment this. I do not want to run this, and I'll just simply response is equal to, and then I'll say print, and I'll say response. So let's see this. And what I'm going to do here is that, okay, fine. I'll just run this and see. Okay, here you go. So you see this, I have the response of your content. Your name is Mohammed Shakir and you stay in a city called Baroda in the state of Gujarat. You'll have to write codes which you believe has impacted your success as an entrepreneur. See the kind of the response that it has given me. So this is just perfect. This is exactly what I was expecting. So here you are, and the entire response is out here. And yeah, this is how it is. So you can very well invoke the messages with the chat model, passing an array of system message, human messages. There is yet another type of message that is AI message. That is for another day. But here you see this, I would like to bring to your notice one very important point. See, system message. This inherits from what? Take a look. This inherits from the base message. This base message happens to be from where? See this base message. This happens to be from, now this is the library. See, in my Python environment, lib python 3 dot whatever, and inside packages, LangChain core messages slash p base.py class base message. This is from LangChain. And both of these, so system message as well as human message, the base class is the base message itself, right? And then there is AI message, which I said, which I just mentioned. We will be, that is for another day. Okay, so this is what I had also planned to cover in this particular video. I had planned to cover prompt templates as well. As I had said earlier, these are the two building blocks of LangChain. One is the chat model and the other is the prompt templates. But then I can see that this video has already run into more than 20 minutes, so I will create another video. My apologies. I don't want to have a lot of things put into one single video. And I will do that in another video. I will create another video, especially for prompt templates. And again, that will be a short video of say 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, thanks for watching. Thank you very much for watching. And please subscribe to my channel for more videos like these. Thank you so much.